All right, fastest 15 minutes on social media, fastest 15 minutes on the internet. My name is Judson Powell. All right, here we go. Was off yesterday, so I kind of took since Memorial Day was actually founded by Africans and African Americans to celebrate the guys that went and fought in various wars for the United States, but weren't acknowledged for fighting those wars. So, I celebrate that. Okay. Now, I ain't gonna celebrate everything because a lot of these holidays are pagan. I don't know what's wrong with my. Anyway, I need to stop doing that. But I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about Naomi, Osaka, and I want to talk about the Go Along, Get Along gang. And that's what I've been fighting. You know, the funny thing about it is, and I'm glad that, and we have to also bring back up Kwame Brown and Stephen A. Smith and that whole fiasco, because that's really like, it's not the origin, but it is definitely part of the problem. Okay, and so, and also included in that is anti-nepotism and all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, and then the other funny thing is that they got all these, you know, black Christian pastors walking around saying, you know, pray for Israel and support Israel, when they're not doing something that's really nice to the world. And I don't know if y'all remember, like, you know, a long while ago, I was talking about that, and this is when Trump was president, I was talking about being a good world citizen, just being a good world citizen. That's what it's about now, because things are too, I don't know. It's, I don't know. It's like, you know, everything is close because of the internet, and things are also being revealed that have not been revealed for years and years and years. Why? Simply because of this thing right here, the camera. And the camera phones and all of that. See, because now it's like everybody's walking around with a TV station. Everybody's walking around basically with a way to, you know, to expose injustices like police brutality and all that kind of stuff. Because let's face it, no camera there, absent the young lady, Miss Frazier, being there and recording George Floyd's murder on tape, you know, on video, and then being able to play it back, they would have walked away. You know, they would have just, you know, they would have, and a lot of these situations are like that because there's tape and there's video of all of this stuff. It's like, oh, so, you know, but in the past, all of these injustices would have gone unnoticed and basically unpunished. And so we got to look at where the technology, and even back in the day, I always say you had to have three things: talent, technology, and tact. Okay. And technology has really come a long way. And because it's come so long, you know, there's also negative aspects to it too, but I don't want to get into those. But Naomi Osaka, let's get into that. She withdrew from the French Open because they fined her for not showing up for a press conference, and she didn't show up for the press conference. And why didn't she show up? She didn't show up because she was like, hey, I don't, you know, basically I don't feel, you know, mentally prepared for all of this, and I just want to play. And if and basically her stance was, I'll go and play, but I don't want to sit down and talk to these people every time after I pray. I mean, pray. I said pray. But you get what I'm saying? It's like, so that's what that's all about. But, you know, but the power and control of professional sports over athletes, you know, they feel like they have the ability to say and do anything that they want to. And Colin Kaepernick is the, you know, is prime example that comes to mind. And then Kurt, you know, the daddy like Kurt Flood and Hollywood Henderson and guys like that, that, you know, that stood up against the whole thing of being a slave, because they were like, hey, look, I'm not a slave. You know, I get paid. That's my job. But I think that the mentality of the aristocracy, and I started using that word, but of the business owners and the so-called ruling class are sitting up there and saying, look, you got to do it how we say it, when we say it. You know, you got to stand for our anthem. You got to stand for, you know, you got to, this is the way you have to be or whatever, or else we're going to take your money. Well, you know, we need to do the same thing. Stop supporting people that don't support us. And you know, I don't know. I've said that ad nauseum. I don't watch, you know, I don't watch half the sports anymore because why? It's on Fox and they got a thing, Fox Soul. And then they got all these programs that come on Fox and everything. And, you know, they're very good programs. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not watching them. I can't tell you what goes on Fox on a nightly basis. I can't, because of what they do with that money. When you watch, what do? They get lots of money in advertising revenue, and they sit up there and they treat you bad, and they don't care about you, because you can tell by their news, but as soon as football comes on, and see, that's where all their revenue is coming from. Their revenue is not coming from that propaganda machine. It's a propaganda machine. They're sitting out there saying what they want to say and forming narratives about the way they want to form narratives. And it was coming, and it's still coming. Like you know, I read where why can't I remember his name? Pierce, what's the guy's name? Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. But he said basically, you know, that Naomi Osaka was this horrible person, and, you know, whatever, because she didn't want to play in the French Open. But she's already a multi millionaire. So she ain't got to play. And that's one of the things that when we've been watching Kwame Brown and people like that, it's like, you got to understand what your status is. And that's been my status for a long time. I don't work for nobody. I literally have not, you know, and I have not, I was explaining that to one of my best friends, one of my bestie friends. And I was just like, look, I ain't worked in years. Not for nobody that wasn't black. Cause I figured, hey, look, if I'm gonna work my life away or whatever I'm doing, then I'm gonna do it for somebody that looks like me and thinks like me and feels the way that I feel. And if you can't be in that vein, then okay, that's fine. That's fine for you. I understand that. But I even have people, we know right now that there are tons of people, you know, in the spiritually woke community. And there are people that won't come into the spiritually woke community. Why? Because they're afraid of losing their job. They're afraid that, you know, of losing friends, and they're afraid of this and afraid of that. But I'm not afraid of that. Why? Because I don't care. I got a wife and 7 children and 2 ex-wives. So I don't really care, y'all. It's like, so that's why I get on here and I say the things that I do, because you can't check me. There's no way, you know, you can't cancel me. As long as I can pay my cable bill or whatever it is, my internet bill, however I get on here, you know, I don't even take care of that. I don't, but as long as I got that, and I got this, and I have this ability to be able to do what I do, you know, the ability that I have to be able to do what I do is based upon what? It's based on talent that I have and that I developed over the years. I started off on radio when I was 13 years old, had almost a 30-year career in radio, then transitioned to television, you know, and along the way, I sold products, goods, and services, you know, in over 150 countries around the world. but that's all I'm saying. It's like, so I don't really think about that stuff, and I don't have to compromise my feelings or my position or anything like that towards something that I don't want. But they can't stand that. See, the white supremacists and the white, the white nationalists, they can't stand that. And that's why they did what they did to Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick was colluded against. The only thing is, I guess he needed the money more than he stood on the money more than he stood on the principle. And then I don't really fault him for that, because, hey, he basically, the whole thing took care of his family. Take their money. And once again, one of my other adages, don't get mad, get paid. Let's start getting paid. Let's forget all that other stuff. Get paid and stop all this infighting, with different people, and stop, doing the white man's job. And once again, we can go back to a Malcolm Xism. They will hire one of us, to do something to one of us so that they could say that it was one of us. And that's what Stephen A. Smith was. He's the hired gun. And then when Naomi Osaka did what she did, he came up there and he was just like, oh, it was a love fest. I expected the OJ's love train to come on in the background. But we all know that that's not how he really felt. And we also know that if they would have told him to condemn her for what she did, he would have done it. We know that. Come on, and that's what the whole thing about the go along, get along gang is, because you enjoy, and I say this all the time, because you enjoy your space in white supremacy. You are happy and content with your space in white supremacy. And there's and this is not something that's new. That's what it was about, to be, the house Negro, or to be the assistant of the overseer out in the field, and or the snitch and all that kind of stuff. That's what it was about. It was about being able to say, okay, we didn't say that. We don't have to say that, and I believe Kwame Brown, he was like, look, that's why they got old boys. So they get him to start off the negative activity, and then Skip Bayless and the rest of the guys could come in, and then they could say what they want. Because the negative feelings and the negative press and everything has already been spread. So they always need somebody. And now, if you don't have anybody, then what can you do? There's absolutely nothing that you can do when you get into that situation. So that's what they look for. You can call them whatever you want, coons, this, that, and the other thing. I mean, we got 1,000 names, Uncle Tom, Oreo, whatever you want to call them, but that's what's going on. And so whenever somebody in that mainstream media poises their mouth to talk bad or talk down upon a black athlete, then that's what that's all about. I mean, hey, that's what it's all about. There's, you make your statements or whatever, and then this is the other thing. I'm not saying that everybody should be the same. I'm not saying that we should all have the same opinion and we all going to agree on every single point of every single thing. But the bottom line is like your grandma should have taught you. If you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say nothing at all. Just keep stepping. And I've said things about people when I make these videos, but I say it out of point in from a news and editorial standpoint, pointing out this is what happened, and this is why it happened, and this is who this person is under the control of. And that's basically what. So the go along, get along gang is just saying, look, we're going to go along with whatever white supremacy or white nationalism says, so that we have our place in white nationalism and in white supremacy. How could Tim Scott and Kamala Harris sit up there and say that the United States of America is not a racist country? They said that. We got tape. We saw them say it. But we know that America is built on slavery and racism. And until we start telling the truth, not a whole lot is going to change on that front. Anyway, fastest 15 minutes is up. My name is Judson Powell. Like button, subscribe button, notification button, all the buttons. Hit all the buttons. But most of all, hit the love button. I love you.